there, it's Beth Sackerson again with the WSPA Education Council, and we are on part 2 of drumming for tenors. This will deal with dot cuts. Now, dot cuts are what gives our music that nice swing feel. Please note that everything in this video will be in a 4/4 time signature. To understand the dot cut, it helps to view a group of 4 16th notes where you want to play the first note and the fourth note. I added a quarter note to the next beat just to complete the phrase. So what we want to play is 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. So how would we write this? In the last video, we wrote it out like this. Fortunately, there is a much easier way, and that is by using the dot cut. Looking at this phrase, you see a dot after the first note. The dot means the note duration increases by half of its original value. Since the dot is on an eighth note here, that means it now lasts the equivalent of an eighth note plus a 16th note, or 3 16th notes. To break this down visually, let's go back to the 16th note string where we wanted to play the first and fourth note. Now the first 3 16th notes are replaced by the dotted eighth note, leaving the last one in the ah place. This note is called the cut note. Although this sounds complicated, you'll get the feel for it pretty quickly. You can also dot 16th notes to make a dotted 16th and a 32nd note. 32nd notes look like this with 3 beams, or if it was by itself, it would have 3 flags. Even though this looks kind of like a string of 16th notes, it isn't. So you can't count it straight like 1 E and a. You can still use those terms, although they're not quite right, but you have to swing it with your voice, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. There's a metronome subdivision that you can use that looks like this. For the dotted 8th 16th note combo, you can set the tempo as usual. Let's do 60 beats per minute, and then you set the subdivision. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. For the dotted 16th 32nd note combinations, you need to set your metronome twice as fast. So I'm going to set it to 120, same subdivision. Ready? 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4. And 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4. And. Now here's a concept that took me a while to figure out. There's a lot of subjectivity when it comes to playing dot cuts. The metronome will give you the mathematically correct way to play. However, in certain tunes like Strathspeys and 6/8, the space between the first note and the second note is actually exaggerated, more so than it's actually written. This means the cut note creeps more closely to the following note, thus widening the distance between the dotted and cut notes. This is what's referred to as a pointed phrase. Conversely, you may hear your pipe major or drum sergeant complaining that you're playing too round. This means that you're playing your cut note too close to your first note. So it's in danger of becoming too even, 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So they're asking you to space that out a little to give it that swing. As a tenor drummer, you have to listen carefully to how your drum sergeant is expressing these. Make sure you match your snares, because if you don't, you're going to sound like you're playing it incorrectly. Still unsure how it's supposed to sound? Well, here's a helpful video my drum teacher gave me when I was learning.
I'm hip.
And just to make your day, there's something called a cut dot. It's the reverse. If we slow the phrase down again to an eighth note and a 16th note, we can play this accurately as 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. Now, if you were playing it as a 16th note and 32nd combo, it would play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Finally, as tenors, we have to recognize what rest would look like in this situation. Some computer software allows you to dot a rest so it looks like the phrase is on the left. Others don't, so you have to read and interpret a cluster of rests that look like this on the right. Here's a common phrase using the dotted 8th 16th note combination. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. The dotted 16th 32nd combo will sound a little bit like this. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4.
Could I have a hug?